Well, how is it going, everybody? I'm Burhead2. Welcome back to Pikmin 4. This is going to be the first of probably 4 extra episodes where I just spend probably an hour and a half reading stuff. And you know, I'm a fantastic reader. I've proven that quite a bit, so where should we start? I got time. Let's do the treasure catalog, so I'm going to read all of Olimar's notes first. In this video. Maybe Louis' notes in the next one, I'll repeat the same thing with Piklopedia. I'm not even reading what he has to say, because I really couldn't care less. So, let's just look at this for a second. Look at all these rubber ducks. Ducks in a row. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, let's get into it. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be just great. So, at least it's gonna be short. The first time I laid eyes on this treasure, I thought it was a giant aquatic monster. Took me a few paralyzing seconds to realize that it's just a creature. What a relief. A statue. What a relief. It's such an attractive creature. What attractive creature would attack me? I'd be too entranced to run away. This is basically just Olimar's notes on the Rubber Ugly from Pikmin 2. Except he says it's an attractive creature, and he doesn't say he's gonna run all the way back to Hakatit. Lame, they're reusing stuff. Because it's not even technically the same treasure, so it's lame. Has well-proportioned facial features and a smooth exterior. That's not a question? Okay. Its hollow interior allows it to float on water. I thought long and hard about what creature inspired this treasure, and before I knew it, I was petting its beak. I'm powerless in the face of cuteness. I'm in for a long haul. Compared to the other treasures found, the sculpture is tiny. Yet with its beak turned courageously upward, and its round eyes brimming with spirited adventure, I can't help but admire its gallant image. Beauty really can be found around any corner. Just look at this fellow. Oops, when I was a kid, I coveted a black leather jacket that hung in a shop window. It was so cool. I begged my parents to buy it for me, but they just scoffed it in my face. So I saved up my pocket change for months and finally bought it myself. Turns out wearing a leather jacket during the peak of a Hakatit summer is a shortcut to getting a heat stroke. That was the last time I ever tried to be cool. I feel like there's probably some notes somewhere that kind of, what's the word? Goes against that. I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I mean. A gigantic, brightly colored stick of candy adorned with ribbon. My guess is that it was meant to be good for a child, and would be a great souvenir to bring back to my own kids. I'll need to keep a close eye on the spaceship's temperature to prevent its melting during transport. I hear this item was discovered in a bright and open area, unlike other caves I've encountered. What's more, it was presented on a large silver plate. I wonder why it was there. Is it a form of entertainment for visiting guests? Or maybe we are the guests. It's sweet, but not too sweet. Salty, but not overly so. It tastes like something a more refined palate would appreciate, perhaps belonging to someone whose tastes were developed over the course of many years. So good job just eating alien food. Yeah, you might get a parasite or die. That's smart. Stealing a bite of food before it's been served is quite rude, but I understand the impulse. Just ask Louis. My son and I are always waiting outside the kitchen, itching to try whatever my wife's been cooking. Thankfully, she finds it charming, or we had to curtail the habit. This pattern always reminds me of our family game nights. We like to play board games, but it would be even more enjoyable if we could eat the boards after. I was curious to know if the flavor was as playful as the design, so I took a bite. Tastes normal. I have so much to read. Hold on a second. Okay. Sweets don't simply disappear of their own accord. There has to be some sort of scientific explanation. To test my theory, I've laid out the cookies and I am waiting. Normally I'd given into my urge to eat them, but I must stay strong. Okay. I don't want to read all this stuff, man. But I'm gonna do it all in one video. You know, let's just get over with. Before we got married, my wife took a compatibility test to assess our relationship. It was all for a laugh, and we got 120%, indicating that we would be eternally happy together. I don't really believe in all that fortune-telling stuff, but the test got it right. In my life's work, encountering tough situations and feeling like your life is in danger is all part of the job, but something about this cookie makes me feel like I have the strength to make it through life. Or through. I have an extra heart if my first one runs out. Like I have an extra heart if my first one runs out. So, a video game reference? Children are fascinated by jiggling objects like this. I know my kids would lose their minds if they encountered this gelatinous tower. I consider myself a mature adult, and even I am fighting the urge to climb on top of this jiggling hill. At our wedding, our friends gave my wife and me a special a spaceship-shaped cake that looked a lot like this one. It wasn't as big, but it resonated with my dreams of exploring space. Of course, my dreams are slightly different now, but I'm happy to still have my wife by my side. Aww, it's just so much love. Okay, I'm getting tired of hearing about his wife. You know, I want to hear about his fantasies of conquering the universe. One whiff of this brings me back to the long days of summer, eating ice cream with my kids. This fragrance smells like their favorite flavor, bright and refreshing. At first I didn't want to try it, but my children insisted. Now it's my favorite ice cream flavor too. My wife and I have been together for a long while, but our relationship has never been as perfectly poised as this cake. Maybe it's because I'm always flying around space and she's at home and trying to keep things together. Really are due for a date night. I don't think Olimar's ever taken his wife on that vacation he was mentioned in Pikmin 2. Here's more love. It's a common practice to present an expensive gift to your intended when you propose. I didn't have the means to do so when my wife and I became engaged, and I've always regretted that fact, but at least I still love her as much as I did then. About what I expected. I wonder if this could be for, like, something like, oh, this could be a gift for my wife. Apparently, if you can jump over this, you'll be blessed with great wealth. I'm not superstitious type, but I'm tempted to give it a try. I could use the extra cash. The only things that's standing in my way are middle-aged hip joints, so nothing about his wife or love, so nice change of pace on that one. I expect more out of this one. It's a multi-sensory art experience. You've got the flicker of the flame, the texture of the body, and the glorious scent that just melts into the surroundings. It's so soothing and calming. I'm getting a bit sleepy here. It is a sleep. My daughters love shiny jewels and trinkets for as long as I can remember. She used to be happy enough with pretty stones and pieces of sea glass, but now all she wants are the more illustrious items like this. It doesn't bode well for my wallet's future. This gemstone is large, but looks kind of cheap. I've only just started to accept that one day someone might propose to my own daughter with a gift like this. I know I should probably give that person a warm welcome, but I already don't like them. Oh, Olimar. I read somewhere that some colors can have certain effects on your body. This color seems to calm my mind and help me recover my composure when I'm feeling frazzled in the field. It has an almost healing effect. The science of colors intrigues me. For example, I can feel my instincts sharpen and my zest for life intensify when I gaze upon this hue. What would happen if I were to walk through this ring with my wife? Perhaps powers would reignite the spark between us. Okay, so first off, you said it's this. You love her just as much as you did before. I get it now. She doesn't love you quite as much as she did then. That's sad. And more about his wife. You know, okay, cool. I get it. You're married. You don't have to rub it in my face. I'm not that annoyed. It's just with a bit, alright? People tend to gather with those who are like-minded, and eventually they become friends and partners. If you want to build a circle of good friends, you must be the kind of person who is somebody you enjoy. And you'll find companionship with yourself as well. Okay, it's not that bad, you know, but, like, I am getting, like, more variety than hearing about his wife, alright? Just gonna say that. More variety, please. I'm no longer trying to catch anyone's eye. Okay. But as a sole breadwinner, I need to prioritize my health so I can support my family for years to come. The problem is, I'm so busy supporting them, there's not a whole lot of time left for push-ups. We'll see how it all turns out. Bad, I'm sure. Growing up, I wasn't one for chasing balls or shedding tears over a win or loss, but my passions were equally absorbing. I wonder why this giant fuzzy sphere has me thinking of more youthful days, and what they were like for the inhabitants of this planet. This communication sphere has fallen from its place orbiting the planet. Note how the bumpy surface was designed to maximize transmissions. A pity that is no longer functioning. Perhaps a blow with a large stick. Wait. Darn it, I already read that one. It's hard to tell the difference. Its hard outer shell could withstand severe environments, but the inside appears to be unexpectedly soft. The geological layers are breathtaking. If I had to guess, I'd say this is a scale model of a celestial body. I just can't explain why I want to hit it with a stick. I can verify that there are indeed 108 stitches on this ball. I counted them myself. The process took me all night to complete. As an explorer, it's important to question things in order to survive, but I should be careful not to overdo it. I wonder, is that actually accurate? I wonder. You know, let's not do that right now, actually. When I hear the sound of this makes, the word paycheck immediately comes to my mind. It's followed quickly by the image of my wife's face and her voice reciting our monthly household budget in full. Food, tuition, medical bills, the list goes on, and whenever I hear a joyful song, I'm transported back to my family celebrations with live music and dancing. I see my family all dressed to the nines, looking at me with silly expressions on their faces. I hope to witness that again one day soon. I think we're making good time. A few years ago, my wife suspected I had betrayed her in some way or another, and was furious at me. She was so enraged she could have turned the whole world upside down. It was terrifying and yet comforting to know I still ignited such passion within her. What is the purpose of emotions? They give our lives meaning and balance. One could not survive a life of pure sorrow, so we must find delight in the things. A life of pleasure would become monotonous, so we should appreciate the bad as much as the good. You know what? He is right. I may not be the most graceful dancer, but who really cares? Says the guy who taught the Pikmin to dance routine in Pikmin 2. I like to let the music take over and allow my body to go with the flow. Sometimes my wife and I will be freestyling, and it looks like so much fun the kids forget to be embarrassed and can't help but join in. My son is a known prankster and likes to catch my wife and me by surprise. One time he leapt out from behind a garden gnome, and my wife jumped so high in surprise that she threw out her back. Since then, we've established a strict household policy of no surprises. I read that perfectly. What are you talking about? How many times have I heard my family complain about a jar that won't open or a door that won't open? And here I am saying, just run it under hot water, or push, don't pull. However, I tried both on this bag, and it literally cannot be opened. Have you tried some WD-40 on that one? That could work. When a flower blooms on a dead tree, it's nothing short of a phenomenon. I've also witnessed flowers bloom on a Pikmin's head after they drink nectar. I suspect this stick shares the same rejuvenating property exhibited by other life forms on this planet. This one time, when I was a kid, my parents had a big fight and refused to speak to each other. I went back and forth, mediating until the argument was resolved. I'd like to say it was for the sake of their love, but I was just tired of waiting for dinner. I found that this planet is riddled with underground caverns and passageways. I love to explore this place, but it feels like I'm in constant danger of falling into a hole. This lid must have been used to warn previous inhabitants of nearby pitfalls. I'd equip the underside of this raft with floats so that it hovers above the water surface, making it possible to sail without sinking. Then I plug the holes with magnifying lenses so I could peer underwater safely. So this is the treasure that we couldn't collect. I want to observe it. Like a good observing. Oops, wrong button. It's ZR, not A. To do the no, it's kind of weird. Could have been like X or Y like Pikmin 2, but whatever. This lovely patina on this piece is evidence of a deep bond between this dog and its companion. A dog never truly forgets their owner, and an owner will remember their dog for life. Eternal truths such as this transcend all times and galaxies. How heartwarming. Now I'm gonna read like 10 entries on a puzzle piece. That's going to be interesting. The vastness of space and the unknown it contains is an unsolvable puzzle. At the start of each voyage, I set out to unravel every mystery and discover great truths, but I always find myself returning with more questions than answers. Olimar, you're a delivery man. You're not a space explorer by trade. At Hawkinson Freight, we often divide up our cargo in order to use the ship's space more efficiently. Big companies have huge transporters to fill it up, but that also means a lot less flexibility. They're still filling up their gigantic ships while we're out making deliveries. See? So it wasn't a retcon. He's still a delivery boy. Or delivery man. He's middle-aged. As a boy, I would spend days drawing elaborate treasure maps. The buried treasure may have been junk to most, but to me it was precious. Is this a fragment of a treasure map? I doubt it. But the subject of this drawing was probably treasured to the artist. Aw, because it's a dog. It's so sickly sweet. I understand the instinct to hide something precious to you, although the word protect is probably more apt. I feel similarly about my family. I'd do everything in my power to give them a safe, happy life. It's a simple desire, but it motivates me to carry on. This looks like the kind of pictures you get when you let a kid play with a camera, blurring it too close up to see anything. I deleted all those pictures of my kids so I could free memory space. Excuse me, I burped. Also, relatable on that one, but now I wish I hadn't. imperfect memories can be the most precious. It makes me think of my dog, Bulby, back at home. I'm away for work quite a bit, so we've gone long periods without seeing each other. Yet every time I come home, he treats me as if I never left. Maybe the wisest and most loving member of the family. Oof. Olimar's wife and kids just got burned on that one. He even burned himself too, because he said Bulby's the smartest. Or, well, because wise and smart, at least in the same thing, but like, wisest, does that include him? This unknown organism bears a strong resemblance to the dogs on my planet. I'm amazed that such similar species could exist in the far reaches of outer space. I've heard that organic components can travel through space on meteorites and comets. Could there be a connection between my planet and this one? As a young boy, I collected rocks and shiny objects that I held quite dear. My parents always wanted me to get rid of them, but I refused. I can't even remember where I found them all. I probably picked up most of them right in our backyard. I'm still not sure why I was so attached to a bunch of gravel, but they shone like diamonds to me. As a child, there were many things I'd come across something unknown to me and intuitively investigate without hesitation. It worked out well for me, I believe. As an adult, I often overthink matters, so maybe I need to recapture that daring spirit of my youth. Why are things the way that they are? The answer can be surprisingly simple. For example, my kids will often dismantle a clock or chair or tear up a piece of bread just because they can. Maybe there's no significant reason that this picture is in pieces either. The little bump at the end makes us look like it has a nose. Noses make me think of my son when he was a baby. He often forget my face after I've been gone for long stints of work and cry when I got home. But once he knew the distinctive shape of my nose, he recognized me right away. All Hakatations kind of have the same nose anyway. Like, we've seen Olimar, Louis, the president, Olimar's wife and son and daughter, and they all kind of have the same nose. Did I dream of becoming a glorified delivery man? Or was adventure always my true goal? Given my current circumstances, who knows? I read that completely wrong. Who knows? I am proud to say I've achieved both, but the president might see it differently. I'm worried about my annual bonus. This scent is dangerously sweet and brings to mind concentrated memories of my wife's adorable smile, but one can't subsist on sweetness alone. You also need solid qualities like trust and patience. Having these is a big, hearty breakfast for the soul. This is an extremely dangerous food. It's light and airy periods, but belies a rich and indulgent flavor. Interior. Before you finish one, you're already reaching for the next. Is it even possible to deny such a temptation? And do I even want to? Next time on my next episode of Pikmin 4. I nap in the pilot seat sometimes, but a cushion like this would be a great alternative. The only weird part is that it's edible. Does that mean something or someone could eat it right out from under you? That's a major drawback. Its shape is mesmerizing. I only wish I could understand how it was sculpted. The more I think about it, the hungrier I get. Thankfully, the salty and sweet pillowy interior is as re-energizing as it is delicious. But then I start thinking again, and the cycle continues. Man, we've read a good chunk of stuff so far. It's not even 20 minutes yet, so... Great pull balls! There is nothing in the universe more interesting than the universe itself. A curious and inquisitive mind will never be satisfied, no matter how much you explore. I hope I feel this way as long as I can. It's important to stay interested in your work. This sphere is believed to be the patron of families. Parents often employed to help the children flourish. And who could blame them? Parents treasure the children, who treasure their own children, and on it goes. Such endless love is a beautiful thing. Crap, I read schnoz again. It's often said that you don't realize how much your parents have done for you until it's too late to thank them. I try to show my gratitude and keep in touch as much as I can with video calls, but as soon as my kids pop on screen, my parents forget I'm there. I know it's impossible to read minds, but I'm apparently clueless when it comes to relationships. When we first started dating, my wife was gracious enough to explain how she felt in great detail. I'm still awkward, but any social skills I do have are thanks to her. I never minded having to start over or pick up my life at the flip of a switch. My environment and those in my social circle might change, but as long as I have my family with me, I'll still be me. They always call me out when I'm acting totally weird. It's become painfully obvious to me that the mind and body are closely linked. Spending so much time away from my family is hard on my mental health, and eventually it takes a toll on my body, even when I eat healthy and exercise. I really miss them. It just occurred to me that I haven't had a checkup in, I'm embarrassed to say how long. You're supposed to do it once a year, but I keep putting it off. Lately my elbow's making an odd clicking sound every time I move it. I should get it checked out eventually. Getting lost in space is as good as a death sentence. The newest ships have technology that can locate the closest planet and initiate an emergency landing, yet they still haven't built a navigation system that can detect and avoid incoming meteorites and space trash. Oh, is that a reference to the first game? It's easy to lose someone's trust, despite the fact that it takes so long to build in the first place. But once you have that trust and support it, it's much easier to achieve your goals. I'd rather be able to count on someone I trust than leave it all to chance. I never considered myself to be someone with a lot of inner strength or fortitude, but my wife seems to disagree. I must be playing it way too cool when we're together. This ball is meant to represent truth, but the truth is never truly black or white. It's both subjective and objective, and extremely tricky. I think the color gray would make more sense for this object, or maybe that hideous brown you get when you mix all the paint colors together. That is true, that does happen. Like, you know, it's not always brown, it can be like bluish sometimes. Like if you water much together like a bunch of Fruit Loops, it's kind of like this weird dark blue, you know? But yeah, it mostly turns out brown. It's like Play-Doh, you know? You see in commercials, like, oh, kids putting these all the Play-Doh stuff together, like, oh, cool, they're putting all the colors together, now you're never gonna get them apart. Now you're gonna have just one giant blob of Play-Doh with a bunch of different color streaks in it. It's gonna be one homogeneous color blob. Okay, so moving on. The scent of this fruit tickles my heart for some reason. It makes me think back on summer memories, and my wife smiling at me in the sunlight. She'd probably have a good laugh if she ever read this, but that wouldn't be so bad. I happen to love that sound. Aw, that's nice. What a perplexing plant. It appears to be carrying two different types of berries. It must be a rare species of fruit. Both have odd traits. One seems to be a suppressant, while the other is a stimulant. It's not easy to tell which is which. This is the Pikmin 2 notes! You can tell that because the entry is wrong. It's a cherry. So, what are the two fruits? My guess is that it's about the stem and the cherry itself. But, you know, we say that one fruit is a suppressant, while it's a stimulant. So, I've read that it could be like a note for like the burgeoning spiderwort, because that would make sense. Because there's ultra spicy berries, that's a stimulant. Ultra bitter berries, you know, that's the suppressant. But this was written in Pikmin 2, where there were bitter sprays. There are no bitter sprays in this game, so they just willy-nilly reused the text where it didn't even make sense in the first place, and it's wrong there, and it's even more wrong here. So, bad game. In my youth, I used to power through a long night shifts by sucking on sour fruit candy. It somehow energized me and it kept me wide awake. I couldn't do that now, even with the candy, but it's an example of how sometimes things turning sour can work out for the best. When my first child was born, my wife and I would sit outside in the warm spring weather and take turns rocking him in our arms. Those days were filled with endless joy. The sunlight bouncing off his downy hair looked just like this. Nice. The night I ate this fruit, I had a dream in which I saw lots of them growing close together on a tree. If we were able to grow and harvest that many, we'd never run out of food. Suppose we wouldn't know what's possible until I plant the seed first. Plant the first seed. Same difference. From its artistic, creative exterior to its deliciously sweet interior, the wayward moon is elegant in fruit form, mild and aromatic. It would make a wonderful gift for a friend or someone who just needs a little pick-me-up. Which is also... I know, because that's like the Japanese melon. That's what they do in Japan. They give people those melons. So, it's a reference that, you know, we Westerners don't get. One way for this fruit, it will have your mouth watering, but the taste itself is sour and slightly disappointing. However, you can't let results like this keep you from trying new things. There's no greater quality than an adventurous spirit. Extremely sweet. Almost too sweet. The flavor makes you feel drowsy with joy. You want to soak in those joyful juices forever and ever. I may need to limit my intake when it comes to this fruit. This fruit comes in bunches, so you can keep eating them and never run out. A single berry satisfies my appetite, but I'm grateful to live in a universe with such natural abundance. One entire grape feeds Olimar. Like, dude, a grape is like 1.5 times the size of him. Maybe about as tall as he is. But like, if he can eat basically his entire body size, that explains Louie. Oops, darn it. I beat twice. Hold on, Schnoz. Let me talk to you again. Hear my voice. I'll rest for a second. We're at the desk of pustules. Pustules, what a fantastic name for food. I've noticed that the skin contains a substance with antioxidant properties. That's probably why I feel so fresh and vigorated after I eat one. I wonder how I feel after eating two. That's a good one. Look at this fruit. I look at this fruit and I am instantly overcome by the urge to split it into a million pieces. I closed my eyes to avoid the thought, but the impulse just got stronger. I must be holding on to a deep desire to take on and defeat a giant spherical obstacle. Numerous packets of juice clustered around a hollow interior, much like memories, both sweet and sour, that burst with meaning and yet still cannot fill that empty place in one's heart. Gazing upon this fruit always fills me with regret. Lovely fruits. Seems to be a citrus lump, but younger and very green. Experience is usually perceived as weakness, but its power should not be underestimated. Many an organization has been improved by newcomers' creative and untamed energy. While observing the plant bear fruit, I was able to work out where and when the flowers bloomed. I was so frustrated that I couldn't figure out basic botany, but those annoying feelings faded away as soon as I bit into the fruit's sweet flesh. This fruit reminds me of a particular sunset I witnessed years ago. My son and I were walking home together one evening. The sun was setting right across our path. I remember it like it was yesterday. It wasn't spectacular in the least, but I'll never forget it. It's also kind of sweet, actually. Darn, I can't let this get to me. I can't let this get to me. This is Pikmin 4. It's not supposed to be heartwarming. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. There's elegance about this fruit. Its graceful curves and subtle flavor bring to mind images of ornate ballrooms, overflowing with cultured guests and blossoming flowers. The simple act of eating it makes me feel a little fancier. It's called the Tremendous Sniffer, so kind of goes against that idea, but whatever. This fruit has a high water content, and its skin is so thin that you can bite right through it. And to be honest, it'd be the most perfect snack to keep in your pack on a long hike through the desert, if only it didn't bruise so easily, and wasn't like, 10 times your size. The fruit on this planet is astonishingly large. If we could cultivate these ample fruits in Hakatas, nobody would ever go hungry again. Sadly, I don't know anything about agriculture. Maybe I should have listened to my wife when she told me to do yard work. This is the Pikmin 2 note again. Also, Pikmin 2 predicted Pikmin 3. Lame, they're reusing things. But you know what? They reuse names, so I guess I shouldn't be too lame. Or shouldn't too unhappy about this. But it's a little lame, but at the same time it does kind of make sense. So let's not get too far into that. My wife went through a phase where all she talked about was Pikmin and its nutritious value. She charted Pikmin 2 percentages, and then there was A and P. I never really understood what she was talking about, but she was so passionate about it, I couldn't help but listen. I bet she'd really like to try this fruit. When I look at the company president, I can't see myself climbing the corporate ladder. This is the Pikmin 2 note. To be a manager, it seems like you've also got to be an inhuman, heartless villain. Those traits allow them to squeeze their dedicated workers without mercy and still sleep at night. I feel that same merciless energy, cruelty, radiating from this metallic altar. I wonder if it was once used for dark, unspeakable ceremonies. Perhaps it was once the desk of a corporate boss. We'll never know. I can just hear the Pikmin 2 Piclopedia using the background and just see the pictures of the shower room, thinking of this treasure. Memories. This fruit is so shiny and round, it reminds me of a beach ball whenever I see it. And it's so yummy that I can't help but get cravings for it and end up eating it all the time. The only drawback is I'm constantly disappointed that I'm not on vacation. That was new. The love between my wife and I has been captured in all sorts of romantic memories, as sweet and sour as this fruit. Mostly sour. It's fun to return to those memories and feel what I felt then. Sometimes I wonder how my kids will feel the first time they fall in love. Some people may like to peel this fruit from the top, but I prefer to attack it from the bottom instead. Whenever I go from the top, I get this tingling feeling around my belly button. I find it very unnerving. This fruit could be hiding more than the tasty interior. On more than a few occasions, I found bugs munching their way through the sweet flesh, presumably enjoying a snack of their own. How funny to think I share the same taste in fruit as a worm. Actually, hold on a second. I'm going to take a couple-minute break here. Alright, welcome back. Not a huge deal anyway, because I paused the recording and you couldn't tell the difference anyway. But okay, whatever. So, part of the reason I just want to kind of rest my voice. It was like half the reason, but alright, so, don't ask me how I know, but if you draw a face on this fruit, it bears an uncanny resemblance to my wife, wearing a hat. It even emits the same stylish and judgmental aura. Funny how she doodled the doodle version of her is as intimidating as the real thing. The hard, scaly shell that covers this fruit gets softer and darker as it ripens, so determining the optimal time to peel and eat it can be difficult. It's as if the fruit is actively trying to sabotage your enjoyment of it. I've never known produce to be so sneaky. I always thought it was better to eat this fruit when it's ripe, but this one just as enjoyable and nutritious when it's green. The same thing can be said about creatures like us. They may think maturity is superior, but experience and youth are what provides fresh perspectives. To look at a cross-section of this fruit, you'd think it was drawing a star like one my son would make. Stars don't usually actually look like that, so why do we draw them this way? Maybe the secret to the universe is hidden within those 5 points. It's kind of a good question, but I can kind of understand why. Peeling this fruit is arduous due to its soft skin. When I tried to eat it without first removing the peel, a rash developed around my mouth. I had better success when I slit grid-like cuts into the skin and flipped it inside out. The results were delicious. So, Olimar is allergic to mango, as is Alf. I must confess, I once slept and fell on a peel that I thoughtlessly discarded into the floor after eating the fruit inside. I'm really too old to be making mistakes like that. I could even hear my own voice scolding myself. Don't forget to clean up your trash. Throughout my life, I've met people who seem flashy or fancy, but were actually quite down to earth. I've also met people who were arrogant as they looked. The same lesson should be applied to this fruit. It looks pretty intimidating, but what's on the inside? Okay, we're done with all the fruit. All this, so much fruit. I think it's Pikmin 3 all over again. In fact, this is basically all Pikmin 3 fruits. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, I'm not gonna count them. But I assume there's 30. Minus 1. I've heard this mattress possesses miraculous relaxation properties that promise the most relentless sleeper a good night of sleep. I was curious to know why this does affect me, who can literally sleep anywhere. I was curious to know how this would affect me, who can literally sleep anywhere. Would I ever wake up again? Thankfully, I did. My beloved dog, Bubbly, has the impressive ability to fall asleep anywhere he wants. We have that in common. This habit is also one of my wife's biggest pet peeves. Perhaps if Bubbly had a designated bed, it would create a bit more harmony at home. Research has shown that sound waves created by a chirping bird are naturally comforting and can induce sleep. Now, I don't have any strong preferences when it comes to bedding, but if this makes me feel like I'm sleeping on the forest floor, it could be worth a try. Now, this thing reminds me of one time I was fixing the Holy SS Dolphin. The combination of sun and zero gravity created an illusion. It was as if I was a fish floating in the open sea, but in fact, I was just me floating in a sea of space debris. Alright. I look forward to one day looking upon the face of my grandchild. It is, oops. Sorry, I knocked him over. If it's as cute as this one, I couldn't help but dote on them. I don't know what that word is. But it doesn't really matter what they look like, or if they resemble me or someone else in my family. I've always thought that grandchildren are meant to be spoiled. I used to know a guy, who would never give in to his kids when they begged him for something. He would look from his grandkids, and he'd give them anything they wanted. It seems that a grandchild possesses immense powers, or persuasion, or it's just magic. Children often exhibit both the positive and negative qualities of their parents. I think that's why we feel for them so much. What's more, we want them to keep improving and even exceed the expectations we set for ourselves. It's hard work being a kid. I worked hard so I wouldn't be a financial burden on my parents, and I don't want my kids to be dependent on me when they grow up. A parent's job is to raise independent children, but not too independent. You still want them to come home for the holidays. As a parent, you need to be able to hide some emotions from your children. It's harder than you think. I remember telling my parents about my career goals and seeing the disappointment in their eyes. It hurts, but I'm glad it didn't pull me off my path. Once you have children, money starts disappearing faster than you can save it. My wife always says, if it's for the children, it's worth it. I admire her enormous heart. Still, every year, it seems like the children get more and more expensive. Oh, great, food again. At least it's, you know, meat. I never expected to find such an appetizing cut of meat in a dark underground lair. What was it there? How was it made? And is there a reason for its large size? Because the thing that was made of this meat was big. Duh. I imagined it was an offering to some great figure. I shall pay my respects later as well. I'm not sure why I'd want to eat raw fish. Maybe cookery on this planet advanced so far they were able to recreate the essence of the original ingredients. It'd be easier to eat if I could cut it down in smaller pieces, but that might be insulting to the chef. I understand why the white granular parts on the bottom to be fish eggs. One time when I was fishing with my son, we caught a fish who was carrying eggs like these. It was a revelatory moment for him to see how life can differ from species to species. One of my favorite birthday gifts as a child was a book I received called 20,000 Millimeters Under the Sea. I believe I owe my adventurous spirit to that novel. How funny that a piece of seafood from a different planet will remind me of my childhood self. I can't tell they give me tons of power and stamina. I'm not athletic, but if I ate this whole thing, I'm sure I could work for 3 days straight without a wink of sleep. Now that I think about it, I don't want the president to hear about this and get any ideas. Just what I was thinking. My taste in music is highly refined, but my wife and kids have no taste in it at all. This is the Pikmin 2 thing. For example, when I ask my family if they want to go for a karaoke, they twist their face and give me a nasty look. They know what they're missing. Sometimes I miss my carefree bachelor days. Once you have a family, those days are history. I like spending time with my wife, but sometimes I just want to be alone. When I was a kid, I set off the alarm system in primary school. Primary school, I think this is the UK? You think this is Europe? No, this is the United States of America over here. We call it elementary. We call it elementary over here. We say first grade, second grade. We don't say like third year, fourth year. No. You're getting. Why is NOE getting all of their business? Why is the Nintendo of America, Nintendo of Europe translations getting all my Nintendo of America business? First they do the Wally Wog to Wally Hop. Now they're calling it primary school, not elementary. This is outrageous. We fought 2 wars, so Europe wouldn't tell us what to do, and here they are telling us what to do. Just see what would happen. As predicted, I was scolded, but I have no regrets. We are naturally curious creatures. Why else would we be here? I still get the urge to set off alarms, but sadly I've gotten better at resisting those impulses. Despite this solemn appearance, the sound emitted by this object is airy and bright. Reminds me of the innocence and wonder that lives in the heart of a young child. It's important never to lose that sense of childlike wonder. I know I haven't. This should be called the Song Sower. From, Hey Pikmin. Unpainted spaceships look a lot like this, shiny and ripe for adventure. As a kid, I would go down the spaceship dock just to watch the ships being assembled. That's why I started to dream big. In reality, this is likely some kind of noisemaker. This should also be called the Unexamined Nest. But ambiguous hostel is like the same thing anyway. Based on its shape and where it was found, I deduced that this is a nest for some type of aquatic creature. When Nakatit, fish are known to use sunken buildings and objects like their own underwater apartments. I'm sure many life flourished here. This is the thing from the cutscene in Hey Pikmin. Why is there so much Hey Pikmin stuff right now? I'm not sure my eardrums will ever recover from the thunderous noise emitted by this artifact. I can only imagine it played a role in many a naughty child's practical jokes. If I had one of those as a kid, I'm sure I would have been a terror. No, play it. Okay, sorry, I had to do that. I wonder if the serial number is important at all. Strange. Despite its calming tone, something about this melody makes my palms sweat and sends shivers up my spine. It's as if it's sending me a warning about unexpected troubles in the future. So Pikmin 4 is not the last game in the series. Timeline-wise. Is that good? It sounds great, but like, is that good at all? I was thinking about the Pikmin timeline earlier today. But whatever. That's not terribly important. We gotta listen to this too. Okay. There's a healthy quality to this song, and I can't help but gravitate toward it. Perhaps this is a machine-mentioned lure play for a stronger predator. The strong do have a disproportionate advantage on this planet. Wait, does that make the weaker prey? Does it make me the weaker prey? My son is always playing some sort of adventure game. He becomes the hero, defeats his arch nemesis, and saves the day at last. I admire heroic figures like that, but given the choice, I choose my own life again and again. When I blow into the air into this rock, it makes the hair on my neck stand straight up. But if I blow a little harder, the sound becomes crackly and soft. It's so pathetic. I can't help but burst into fit giggles whenever I hear it. This object rattles when you move it. It sounds quite similar to the frequency made by baby goods on my home planet. Imagine this would work in a pinch if you had a crying baby you need to soothe. You know, if the baby is giant. I wasn't surprised to discover this had been found inside of Goofy Longlegs deep underground. It seemed like it gives off the same vibes as a creature made of inorganic and organic materials. On separate notes, every time I look at it, I want to dance. It's reminiscent of a telescope I had when I was a kid. My father and I would stare at the skies together and talk about our discoveries. That telescope nurtured my adventurous spirit. I'd love to meet the adventurer who peeked into these lenses. I was entranced by the longer needle as it spun around and around, and I completely lost track of time. This object doesn't strike me as otherworldly, but when I look at it, it's like I can feel a time-space continuum bending around me. I feel like that quote is from Pikmin 2. The arrow-like object floating in the center appears to move around at will, but it's actually always pointing in the same direction. It could be trying to point me toward destiny, but I'd have to figure that out on my own. Everything looks so much bigger when you peer through this lens. You can see the smallest details of all the different components that make up a single object. That's the proper way to conduct a scientific investigation. Oh, we're over halfway through this already. Oh, thank goodness, my voice is killing me. Why is it that a child's eyes always seem to light up at the sight of a train? My son was fascinated with them, and it was the first toy he ever wanted. I was the same way as a kid. Even now, I'm wishing I could hop on this train and go for a ride. Choo-choo! Long ago, railroads were the lifeblood of our civilization. The power to transport people or supplies remains key to our survival. Sometimes, someone's got to move the fuel, right? I like to think our company plays a similar role in space. It gives meaning to the daily grind. As a student, I once took a local train, a really slow one, on a journey to wherever it was going. I was the only passenger. The unchanging scenery stretched on and on. I felt like I was the only person in the world. Sounds a lot like space travel. Yeah, my voice is going out. During my first job, my parents would meet me at the train station when I got home from work. I always thought I'd do the same thing for my kids, but it's usually them waiting at the station for me now. It was warms my heart, but I wish I could return the favor. So your kids are old enough to have jobs now, Olimar? I guess there has been some time from Pikmin 2. Time has passed from Pikmin 2, is what I mean. I said that perfectly. They say that following the straight and narrow path is a virtue, but I've learned firsthand that doesn't always lead you to your destination. When I started working directly under the president of Pocket Head of Rate, I thought it was the inevitable next step in my career. Led to was piles and piles of paperwork. I'd be happy if my kids take a slightly twisted route in life, as long as it helps them achieve their dreams. I always slow down on sharp curves, but sometimes I crave the occasional thrill of speed. Maybe if I floored the accelerator while the parking brake was engaged, it would satisfy my desire. Sometimes I look around and wonder civilization isn't simply the result of all of us trying to satisfy our desires, just enough to stay productive. Oh, I'm going hoarse. I took my son to the zoo a few years ago, and he suddenly started crying. To calm him, I walked him back and forth on a path with no exhibits. We didn't see any animals that day, but I learned that sometimes the best solution is as simple as a change in the direction. Sometimes some people think I don't like the concept of a set path or staying on the rails. That's not true at all. The only thing that matters to me is that I'm going in the right direction. How I get to my direction is irrelevant, much like the opinions of others. See, Olimar, he gets it. So the idea is you put your hand in the mouth and pretend it's being devoured by whatever's inside the object. Maybe some people find it that funny, or even romantic, but it seems like a mediocre party gag to me. I do not want to cross paths with the owner of these teeth. Of course, given the height of those molars, I'm guessing they were too big to have much in the way of physical agility, and that could work to my advantage if we did encounter one another. I could just run in frantic circles until they eventually gave up. I'm reminded of a toothbrush I used when I was a kid. I always wanted to brush my own teeth, so when my mom finally gave helping me, it was a sweet victory. Unfortunately, that's when I started to get cavities. I guess that's the price of independence. Brushing a child's teeth for them is hard work, made worse by the fact that they're oblivious to the perils of tooth decay. I stopped brushing our kids' teeth for a time, so they could learn for themselves, but that idea did not go over too well with my wife. I look at this and I'm instantly overcome by thoughts of my mother and all the mothers out there. They represent the power of nature itself, cocooning the universe in love and fortifying with their strength since the dawn of time. This shape resembles a mammalian appendage, and this is the Pikmin 2 notes again, but I have no idea what it actually does. It's shipping with what can only be described as beast drool. I'm hesitant to touch it, but I've got a duty on my mission, and maybe it won't be so bad if I close my eyes. Okay, so they tweaked it a little bit, but they couldn't tweak the one for the Cupid's grenade. The bathtub we have at home is much smaller. If we had one like this, we could use it as a hot tub and relax together as a family. Then again, it's hard to unwind when surrounded by excited children, especially ones who like to splash you in the face. Oh, my voice. I have so much left to do. I was in awe of modular robots when I was growing up. Their strength and abilities impressed me to my core. I doubt anyone's ever admired me in such a way, but maybe that's not so bad. I find great satisfaction in being respected as an equal. Once I get started on something, I'm the type that can't help but keep piling on more and more for myself to do. If that's considered hard work, then I guess I like hard work. The only problem is that the result of hard work isn't always good work. It's crucial to believe that you are capable of success, but just because you believe it doesn't guarantee it will happen. Then again, if you don't believe it, you're unlikely to succeed at all. That's why you have to clench your fists and remain strong in the face of every challenge. For me, the ultimate success will be returning home to my family. I believe I can. For me, love and protectiveness go hand in hand. When I think of my daughter, rambunctious, willful, and a bright spark of joy, both feelings come forth at once. I do anything to keep her spark from fading the way mine has. If she read this down, she'd say, "Lighten up, Dad." What's my voice for Olimar's daughter? I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've done that, but I mean, I've done it in this Let's Play, so it's not a huge deal. Legs are some of the most important parts of a living organism. Not only are they used for walking and running, but that movement helps circulate blood throughout the body. Some even call the legs the second heart. I wonder if my toes serve a second purpose as well. Many people don't realize that they only have a dominant hand, but dominant leg as well. That leg can be even more muscular or longer than its non-dominant counterpart. Too big of an imbalance between the legs can have staggering effects. You know, like not walking properly, I'm sure. This is my favorite color. I love how it endues passion, emotion, and everything it touches. Come to think of it, the first Pikmin I encountered were red. Perhaps that's why I instinctively trusted them. Colors can influence behavior in all kinds of ways. Okay, wasn't Olimar's note for the tangerine paste and Hey Pikmin saying that orange was his favorite color? Where's the continuity? Hey Pikmin is canon. I know it is, because, you know why it is? Because of Pikmin 3 Deluxe. A lot of the creatures in that game have the same scientific names and families as in Hey Pikmin. Like Puckering Blennow, for example, has the same scientific name and family as does in Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Hey Pikmin, so it's canon. Probably. This color is very similar to that of blue Pikmin. I prefer red. I thought there was a Lewis note for a second. We're not going to read that one quite yet. Eventually. Next time. I'm not going to record that video today, though. That's for sure. I heard that Pikmin of the same color were found in the same location. Could there be a correlation? Some creatures will change their appearance to match their environment. I'd like to observe what happens to those Pikmin when exposed to other environments. Well, they haven't changed color yet, so I doubt much. Found in a dark location. Luckily, it was just bright enough to be spotted in the vicinity of purple Pikmin. I never associated purple with strength, but I've since had to revise my thinking. Discovered in obscure locales like white Pikmin, creatures with bright colors are usually more likely to be packing poison, while creatures with dull coloration are generally harmless. But this doesn't apply to white Pikmin, and in fact, they're dangerously poisonous. No doubt they use this to their advantage. The color reminds me of rock Pikmin. When I first touched one, I was surprised by how cold it felt. It was a pleasant sensation, and they didn't seem to mind my curiosity. Much like this treasure, rock Pikmin were found in a dark, chilly place. How appropriate. But what about ice Pikmin, huh? An attractive color similar to that of the winged Pikmin that were found in its vicinity. It mystifies me how such helpless creatures have survived for so long. The bright color makes it so easy for a predator to spot them. Needless to say, I find them to be particularly fascinating. The color reminds me of the ice emitted by the Nivistennis, or the icy blowhog. I'm pretty sure that is. Is it a coincidence that I encountered this treasure and ice Pikmin in the same area? It's no coincidence that ice Pikmin were called that. If I looked one, no, Sus Nivistennis is not the scientific name for ice Pikmin. It's no coincidence that ice Pikmin were called that. If I looked one, I'm sure my tongue would stick to it until it melted. Sorry. Why did I start coughing? The same color as glow Pikmin that appear while exploring at night. Many think neon colors are artificial, but they're actually the result of certain materials reacting to short wavelengths of light. So really, they are quite natural. Another example of our perception can be unreliable. I'll read perfectly, I swear. This statue seems to be imbued with the majesty of an ancient goddess. When I look up to her, I can't help but be mesmerized by her beauty, until my neck starts throbbing in pain. An ancient goddess of freedom! While looking at this statue, I found myself smiling and petting its head for no discernible reason. You could get up that high? It must possess a magical ability to captivate people and convince them to do its bidding. How can something so devious and manipulative be so cute? This looks a lot like a figurine my son learned about in school. I've always wondered why she wears goggles. What does she have to hide? I dropped it again. I should probably stop putting my foot on the cord it's attached to. So that text messed me up a little bit. I thought it said his son, but then it said she. So I was like, are we talking about Olimar's daughter now? No, okay, let me just keep reading. Maybe a circuit's passed with another ancient statue floating around out there. I look forward to discussing this theory with my son. Could it be related to the person who remodeled this for the statue? While examining it earlier, I found myself striking the same pose without even realizing it. If we do share the same genes, how did they end up on the side of space? What manner of calamities had befallen the planet at the time this statue was created? Apocalyptic catastrophes. I just bit my tongue. Ow. Extreme weather. The wrath of the gods? The question that artifacts like this inspire are, what make them truly valuable? I've never been the type to give up. No matter how many times I fall, I always get back up again. At first, I thought I could practice alongside this machine, but its stubby body reminds me too much of the president. One glance at it, and I lose all the motivation to continue. The funny meme treasure. Looking upon this warrior's calming visage is a peaceful way to spend an hour. The eyes seem to gaze through everything, as if their gaze is freeing you from the darkness of your mind. Perhaps I stumbled upon a sacred key to life's greatest questions. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but this reminds me of my face my wife once made. This face. It reminds me of the face my wife once made when I delivered a perfectly executed dad joke. Okay, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny, actually. This thing is also kind of creepy. Like, you'd expect to find this in a horror game or something. What mysterious and fluffy creatures! I can't find evidence of them in any of the existing creature databases, but there's something familiar about them. It's almost as if I've met them before. Guess I'll chalk it up to an ancient memory that's been imprinted on my genome, or however you pronounce that. Quantifying the warmth in your heart. What a brilliant idea. The next time there's a mix between my wife and me, I can just show her the numerical value of my feelings for her. Then we could use it on her and... Actually, that part might backfire. Ooh, so I was right? Olimar's wife doesn't love him as much as she did originally? It's sad. Tasks in space require good timing. Docking a spaceship is a good example of that. If the monitors on my ship were to break, I need to measure my time there's a time using my instincts alone. This is the perfect tool to help me develop an acute sense of time. You know, I thought this would say something about, like, throwing Pikmin or something. Like, this is how many times I threw Pikmin, or I can use this to count how many times I threw Pikmin or something. It was wrong button. I may be able to embed this on the wall of the spaceship's computer room. The ship's computer room. It could be useful for making manual calculations should the ship's AI ever crash unexpectedly. Space pilots need to be prepared for any emergency, and I'll take all the help I can get. I've been reading for too long. I'm messing up, man. My voice is hurting. This is an extremely strict calculator. I never thought sturdiness was a necessary quality for a calculator, but I do recall my wife calculating our monthly budgets multiple times after shopping trips with extreme vigor. And the calculations I've used for both life and work do have a tendency to get thrown around. I guess the craftsman on this planet had the right idea. We're getting closer. A strange life form that mimics an octopus. We discovered other creatures that use mimicry, but in this case, it's fairly uncommon. I'm not even sure that it is a life form. I intend to dissect it to investigate further, but first I will try one tiny bite. It's disturbing to see a mouth that can be moved like a cat. If it were reattached improperly, would the bodily fluids simply pour right out? I remember when a supposedly airtight container of mine once failed. My bag smelled like onion soup for a week. A fossil excavated at the beach. From its shape, I can deduce that it was cast by an aquatic creature. That could indicate that the current inside of the beach was once an ocean floor. Oh man, this is just it keeps getting worse. Discovered along a mountain stream, its shape reminds me of a type of foot we use when moving through shallow waters. Perhaps this creature mimicked the shoe prints of this planet's inhabitants as a way to hide in plain sight and steal their food. This spear looks like a rocket from the early days of space exploration. It may even conceal some kind of high propulsive force within, but I hope it has more romantic history that it protected explorers as they sail through space pursuing their dreams. My little girl has always been the princess of our household. If there was a miniature version of this, I'd love to present it to her as her own personal fork. I can imagine it now. She'd be so ecstatic, swinging it all around, wreaking havoc, scaring the dog. Never mind. I think a little princess is a tad too spirited for a gift like this. Careful! This tool is very sharp. Its original owner must have wanted to piece or crack things open at any cost. As the love room presenter of unique objects, I'm not quite sure I understand the purpose or value of an item such as this. You know, this reminds me of Paper Mario Color Splash, because that game had an ice pick thing. Card. You know. Things. During slow days at work, I like to play this game where I use the zero gravity to float my toy rockets in front of the ship's window. Then I act out scenes of my favorite childhood TV show and pretend there's a galactic war going on in the distance. I should probably edit those notes before the president asks me to review them. I think this might be a tool for warding off predators. Perhaps if I attached it to my back, the creatures of this planet would be deterred from chasing me. I could test this theory on the Pikmin. Of course, they might end up carrying me instead, treasure and all. I like pressing the different directions of a mathematical symbol, but there's something captivating about the two rounded buttons. I can't help but want to push them over and over and as fast as I can. I don't want to break them, but I don't want to stop either. So mathematical symbol is talking about the plus. Oh, he doesn't call it a D-pad, that's funny. How interesting that the artists use a black plank as a canvas, and how they chose to depict the pilot. They look like the type that works hard for their beloved family, though the design of the spaceship is all wrong. Good luck flying that thing through near crevices. It's a bit unusual to call something a masterpiece before you read it, but I've got a good feeling about this one. I think it's meant for children, but is it about a boy or girl? Hopefully both. It's been hard to please everyone in the audience at bedtime lately. This machine is equipped with an advanced vibration feature. The vibrations seem to be communicating in a vacuum, perhaps trying to reach out to its corresponding system, which has likely been lost to time. Who knows what the machine is trying to say? But it's telling me something about the sadness of abandoned technology. Sharing is one of civilization's most important virtues. We share food, shelter, stories, and sometimes even checks. I can only hope this belief is also held by the president of our company. I'd like him to share in this form of holiday bonus this year. I don't have a creative cell in my body, but my daughter somehow avoided this genetic deficiency. When she is drawing, I bit my tongue again. She becomes too absorbed by her art, as if she can't hear a word I say. That or she is just ignoring me. I have no idea if what she draws is any good, but the ability to focus on something so deeply is talented enough. Either way, her future is bright. Space is a funny place. You can't be using the latest galaxy navigation technology and still find yourself lost in the sea of space trash. But that's life, isn't it? If you want to advance, you've got to be flexible. This also applies to settling marital disagreements. I get it. If you want to advance, you got to be flexible. Funny. I sort of see the winged aspect, but mostly this reminds me of model spaceship I played as a kid. The overall design is perfect for transcending all kinds of atmospheric barriers. Plus, it looks so cool. What your eyes might see is not an exact representation of reality. We can only see one part of the world with a narrow range of visible light. This magnificent device proves that theory. I'd love to show it to my kids one day. It would boggle their minds. I'm picky when it comes to music, but I'm fascinated how a melody can perfectly capture a person's soul or even a specific feeling. I wonder what my song would mean. I like to think it would sound bold and romantic and reflect my adventurous career. Maybe I should just write it myself. The ability to save balance is critical to exploration and space travel. It is okay to lose your balance, but as long as you can regain it right away. This tool is perfect for strengthening that skill. The only problem is I can't get it to move forward when I'm on my back. Okay, I don't know if I can keep going. I have to keep going. I'm getting closer. These shutters make it difficult to see clearly ahead, so I'm not sure why they'd be found in a dark cave. I'm not sure it's not as if they could even be used as a proper hiding place. They remind me of playing hide and seek with my kids and pretending not to see them. I said that correctly, I'm sure. So how is this thing flashing? Really? Where's the batteries? Is it that? Is it the battery? That could be. Okay, moving on to more plants. Great. This tasty red snack isn't quite a fruit, but it doesn't quite seem like a vegetable either. I've analyzed it extensively, but whether I think I've settled the matter, I discover something new that calls into question. This is why I'm not a scientist by trade, so this is not the Pikmin 2 note. Thought I was at first. When I was a student, a girl in my class asked me to go to shopping with her. It would have been rude to refuse, so I went. My friends kept hassling me, saying it was a date. It was so embarrassing. Couldn't think of it. My wife asked me out soon after that. I wonder if she was jealous. This plant grows so fast it reminds me of my own children. One day they were little babies in my arms, the next day they sprouted to fully fledged people. I have my wife my wife to thank for that. She does so much while I'm so frequently away for work. My ability to speak has just gone down the drain. I need a break. I hit the wrong button again, but I'm gonna keep going. I once saw a prototype of a spaceship shaped a lot like this. Unfortunately, it didn't fly straight. It just spun around in its place. Examples like this are why I prefer a more traditional approach. Being original for the sake of originality is usually a waste of time. During my explorations, I found vegetables like this. I've never seen anything like them. This dark-dwelling vegetable stores all of its nutrients and nutritious energy in its fruits. I think the name that it's been given, Child of the Earth, is very fitting. That's not the Pikmin 2 note. When my son was born, I was almost immediately worried about him, but it was different with my daughter. I sensed from the start that she was strong-willed and sturdy, a sweeter version of her mother. This daughter of the earth reminds me of her. Large, and the size of its right for retrofitting into some sort of vehicle, maybe a carriage. But then what do you do with all the goopy insides? Flippantly throw them out the window as you roll away in your fancy transport? Never! I am vehemently opposed to wasting food. I don't need any special tools to break open the shell, and the fruit inside is edible. Clicking these open is so satisfying that I find myself getting carried away and opening more than I could possibly eat. Note to self, work on moderation. The shape of this fruit looks a lot like my grandpa's face. It's so similar that if it were to name it, I'd call it a Grampy face fruit. My wife always thought my taste in names was catastrophically bad, which is why she named both our children. But I think this one has a certain ring to it. The first time I rode in a spaceship, I was a student working part-time for an interspace transportation company. The excitement I felt during that first launch was unforgettable. The iconic rocket engraved on this shield reminds me of that moment. Also called the Sword and Shield series. Is that a reference to Pokemon? When I was little, I looked at pictures of the planets and imagined that rings around them were roads you could travel on. Of course, once I got to space, I learned that those rings are usually made of dust particles. I've never been so disappointed. Play 3DS Rainbow Road. That would fix it. Someone told me that when a satellite is decommissioned, some of its lights will start to blink spontaneously as it falls through the atmosphere. It's likely a glitch, but I like to believe the satellite's sending one last message before burning up into nothingness. Scary. The figure on the shield is wearing something quite similar to our spacesuits. That would mean these living beings must have looked something like us. I wonder who they were and what their faces looked like. Could they have been our ancestors who migrated through space to our planet long ago? I often encounter comets and meteors on the job, and collisions are bound to happen. I once had to make a crash landing for that very reason. Ooh, so that is a reference to the first game. Has to be. I like to look back at those events as unexpected adventures, but at the time they were pretty harrowing. Even though it's awkward to handle, I assume it's a weapon of some kind. I like how lightweight and user-friendly it is, but I'm not sure how effective it would have been against most threats. Either way, it's a lot of fun to play with. Give it to your kids. It must have been pretty hard to see this sword in the forest, as it would blend in with foliage. Excuse me, I burped again. Applying apathetic coloration to a weapon is more than just practical. It's brilliant. I'm always amazed at the creative solutions that float around in the minds of others. I visited a few icebound planets while delivering cargo throughout space. Based on my experience, I find it hard to believe that this material could withstand such a severe environment. I think it's like this object was used for another purpose. My son used to have a toy sword in a similar color. He was obsessed with it and brought that sword everywhere he went, including the dinner table. That is until I explained that it was dishonorable for a hero to attack a weaker citizen wielding only a fork. With all of these different colored swords, I assume that the armies on this planet color-coded the troops. An entire unit with matching weapons and uniforms would have been a sight to behold. I'm sure the color especially stood out. Or this color especially stood out. They say it's possible to float this unfloatable boat with the help of the divine intervention. That sounds a lot like luck to me. I've had my fair share of bad luck, but at least I've been fortunate enough to survive. Anyhow, my chances don't look good. I'm much more used to seeing fish painted in profile instead of from the top down. I suspect this is supposed to float on top of the water, but I'd be quite startled to encounter a fish like this under normal circumstances. The movement of the universe always seemed slow to me, but it's a matter of perspective. Maybe the environment of this object is how a higher power perceives it. We are so small in the grand scheme. Oops. Oh, you can just do that? You can hit L and R? Sweet. That just makes it better. Huh. I learn something new every day. Maybe it's out of the higher power sees it. We are also small in the grand scheme. I just think about the epic scale of space. Or is it just a space spinner? Sorry, cough. You can tell I coughed again. I just swallowed. I inhaled spit. That's what it was. Attaching an intangible wish to a tangible object seems to be a universal habit. I wish for my family's happiness, but I haven't quite found the right talisman to attach to it. My family must be wishing for my safe return. I hope they have better luck. This reminds me of a mythical creature famous for granting immortality to those brave enough to seek it out. I have no interest in living forever, or maybe the idea of risking my life for the sole purpose of avoiding death just sounds a bit wonky to me. Why not enjoy all the time you have while you have it? Anyway, this is a nice shade of red. To have a charm that's solely devoted to financial light comes off as vulgar and gives off an icky feeling. On the other hand, money is a necessity, and that's an inescapable fact. Well, there is one escape. More money. Wouldn't that be nice? To have a bit more. I'm deeply moved when I imagine ancient peoples entrusting this small, smooth ball with their hopes and dreams, then passing it down through the ages. It'd be a comfort to know that my dreams won't die with me, but will somehow transcend time. I'm so focused by the idea of catching a dream, but it's difficult to achieve in practice. I'm so bemused by the idea of catching a dream, but it's been difficult to achieve in practice. I still haven't been able to catch the ball with the spike upright. Perhaps I need to try an easier angle, but wouldn't it diminish the challenge and thus the quality of the dream? Don't worry too much if it deflates. Simply pump it with more air into the top hole, and the original shape is restored. The material, though paper thin, seems to repel water. Such an inspiring creation. Only the most advanced civilization could conceive of such a work of art. It's like a metaphor for both the fragility and durability of life itself. I once had a trump card. A premium license given only to first-rate space navigation officers allows you to bypass the arduous license renewal process. But I'm sure I lost that qualification with this recent accident. I guess it's back to annual visits to the license renewal planet on the edge of space. The lines are always so long. Does true evil really exist? I can't say for sure, but I have seen a smile like this before. It often graces the face of the president of pocketed freight, usually when he's asking me to work overtime. Unpaid. So I guess I can confirm that true evil exists. Ooh. Some might look at this and see a symbol for life, but this treasure better represents courage. The two are closely related. Of course, power and wisdom also have roles to play, but without the courage to take that first step, your journey cannot begin. There's power, physical power, and then there's mental power. Anyone who's witnessed an argument between me and my wife can clearly see who is quicker on their feet in the heat of the moment. That doesn't bother me so much. Which had the same fortitude and wit to stand up to the president. Possessing wisdom isn't always a good thing. Sure, you can examine an object from multiple angles, but you also get stuck in a maze of thoughts. Am I envious people who can just act on the instinct without overthinking every less detail? Let's see. I don't. Maybe. If my travels through space and my time spent observing various life forms have taught me anything, it's that love can take many forms. Some creatures get the nutrition they need to grow their eggs by eating their mates. But that's an extreme example. The love I feel for my family and the passion I have for my work are so very important to me. But so is money. Love and passion are all well and good, but you can't appreciate any of it if you go hungry. You'll go hungry in this universe without money. In my line of work, it's crucial to stay on top of your to-do lists. When things are busy, it's easy to get sloppy and let things slide. But that's when consistency matters most. There's something like the rush of joyful relief you feel when crossing off a just a task. Appears to have the same composition as the goal of my planet. I've heard that some heavy elements, like gold, are created during rare collisions between neutron stars, but to think the same element exists on a faraway planet reminds me, space is so vast. I lived through some harrowing events, and the trick to surviving in space is to prepare for every possible situation. But this is technically and literally impossible. Sometimes you just need to roll with the dice and hope for the best, and let the universe do its thing. Having to choose 1 of 20 possible scenarios during a voyage to space would be an object lesson in randomness, and very unfortunate. On the minuscule chance it should ever occur, the only solution would be to throw your hands and laugh. Up your hands and laugh. When I gaze at the stone, I can feel my fate being forecasted. It must know what's going to happen to me. I'm sure I see that I'll be hailed as a brilliant visionary and brave explorer when I return to Hakatit. That's the Pikmin 2 note again. Okay, how far along are we? Oh, we're almost done! Sweet. We're almost there, man. We're almost there. Darn, hit the wrong button again. While exploring, I'm often faced with a difficult question. Which do I go? Which way do I go? North, south, east, or west? A tool like this could be useful in those moments. Of course, one roll would be too random. It'd be best to roll 100 times and take the average result. I hope one day to celebrate a high-numbered birthday, but I don't think there will be any large birds in attendance at the party. Just think of how much trouble they would cause. If space has taught me anything, it's to plan for the worst-case scenario. Springtime always reminds me of the day I moved out of my parents' house. At first, everything was so fresh and exciting, but I quickly realized that life on my own was a lot harder than I expected. I also realized I should thank my parents for all they'd done for me. When my son was little, he thought that the moon was just a powdered donut in the sky. He would cry and cry, "I want to eat the moon!" But apparently, I was the same way. These days, he loves to look at the moon through a telescope. Guess the apple doesn't fall far. 2 more. The H people were turning to this luck wafer, when things weren't going well for them. It served as a reminder that no matter how much it rained, the storm always eventually passed. And the same goes for bad times. These, too, was blow away on the breeze. Last treasure. I've heard a story about a company that was in decline, but when they sung this wafer, maybe this object would help increase productivity in Hakatit freight, so would a better spaceship. Maybe it's my fault. If I stop miraculously surviving each dangerous situation, the president might realize we need to upgrade our equipment. Good grief, I'm done. Oh. Hour and 15 minutes later, I'm finished reading all the stuff. Alright, so thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you guys in the next extra episode where I do all the... I read all the treasure logs again, but it's Louis. And, goodbye. Oh, glad that's over.